Captain Eliza Chen stood at the command center of the Aurora, Earth's most advanced diplomatic vessel. The blue lights of the control panels reflected on her face as she read the message again. Her hands shook slightly. This couldn't be real. "Captain, are you okay?" Lieutenant Rodriguez asked from his station. Chen didn't answer immediately. She was reading the Galactic Council's Containment Directive 47B for the third time. The words were clear. Human species classified as dangerous primitives with evolutionary defects. Authorization for population reduction measures. Engineered. Medical compounds. Gradual sterilization through aid distribution. The Galactic Council, the alliance of the most advanced species in the Milky Way, had welcomed humans to their ranks just 20 years ago. For 2 centuries since first contact, humans had worked hard to prove themselves worthy of joining this cosmic community. Earth had changed its ways, ending wars and uniting under a global alliance. They had learned alien technologies, adapted their societies, and followed all council guidelines. And now this, a secret order to slowly destroy humanity. "Captain?" Rodriguez asked again. Chen looked up. Her crew was watching her with concern. They were all so young, so hopeful about humanity's future among the stars. How could she tell them that future was being erased? "We've received new orders," Chen said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. "We're returning to Earth, immediately." "But the diplomatic mission," Rodriguez began. "Has changed," Chen cut him off. "Communications Officer Park, send a message to Earth Command. Tell them we've intercepted critical intelligence and are returning with highest urgency." Park nodded and began typing. Moments later, her console beeped with an error message. "Captain, our communications are being blocked," Park said, her eyes wide with surprise. Chen wasn't surprised. The Council must have systems in place to prevent exactly what she was trying to do. "Navigation. Plot the fastest course to Earth," Chen ordered. "That would be through the Proxima Transit Zone, Lieutenant," Wong replied from the navigation station. "But Captain, we need Council clearance to use that route." "We're taking it anyway," Chen said. She activated the ship-wide communication system. "All crew to emergency stations, secure for possible combat maneuvers." The Aurora hummed with increased power as the crew responded to her orders. Chen transferred the containment directive to her personal device and deleted it from the main system. If they were captured, at least she could try to get the information to Earth somehow. "Captain, we have incoming transmission from Council. Security vessel Righteous Judgment," Park announced. "They're ordering us to power down and prepare for boarding. They say we've accessed restricted data and must be quarantined." Chen looked at the tactical display. The Righteous Judgment was twice the size of the Aurora and carried weapons that could disable them with a single shot. "Ignore the transmission," Chen ordered. "Engines to maximum. Get us to the transit zone." The Aurora accelerated, pushing toward the shortcut that would take them halfway to Earth in an instant. On the display, the Council ship also accelerated, gaining on them rapidly. "They're charging weapons," Rodriguez reported. Chen had expected this. The Council wouldn't let them reach Earth with knowledge of the containment directive. Her mind raced through options. The Aurora was a diplomatic vessel with minimal defensive capabilities. They couldn't outfight the Council ship, but maybe they could outthink it. "Lieutenant Wong, what if we reconfigured our atmospheric shields to function as propulsion?" Chen asked. Wong looked at her like she had suggested growing wings and flying. "The shields aren't designed for that, Captain. The energy requirements would be enormous and the system might burn out completely. But it would work? For a short time?" Chen pressed. Wong calculated quickly. "Theoretically, yes. We could get maybe 3 times our current thrust. But we'd burn through 5 years of energy reserves in about 3 days. Do it," Chen ordered. As Wong and the engineering team worked frantically to reconfigure the shields, the Righteous Judgment drew closer. A warning shot flashed past the Aurora's bow. "They're demanding our surrender," Park said. "The message is from Security Administrator Vexilor himself." Chen had met Vexilor at diplomatic functions. The tall, gray-skinned Proximan had always seemed coldly logical, viewing humans as interesting but ultimately inferior specimens. Now she understood why. "Shield reconfiguration complete," Wong announced. But Captain, if this doesn't work, it will work, Chen said, with more confidence than she felt. Humanity didn't come this far in the galaxy to be quietly erased. Activate the modified shields on my mark. On the main screen, they could see the righteous judgment preparing to fire again, this time not as a warning. Mark, Chen commanded. Thudur. Aurora shuddered violently as the atmospheric shields, now acting as makeshift propulsion, pushed the ship forward with incredible force. Everyone was thrown back in their seats as the acceleration compensators struggled to adjust. The diplomatic vessel shot forward like a bullet, leaving the surprised council ship behind. The transit zone entrance, a shimmering blue anomaly in space, grew rapidly larger on their screens. "Transit zone in 10 seconds, Wong called out. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems overloaded. The lights flickered and several control panels sparked with electrical surges. 5 seconds! The righteous judgment fired, but the Aurora's unexpected burst of speed meant the shot missed by kilometers. Transit now. The Aurora plunged into the blue light of the transit zone. Space bent around them, and for a moment, everything was silent and still. Then they emerged on the other side halfway to Earth. Shield propulsion system burned out, Wong reported. We're back to standard engines. That's enough, Chen said. They'll need time to follow us through the transit zone. By then, we'll have a head start. Rodriguez looked at his captain with new respect. The Council didn't think humans could do that, did they? No, Chen said. And that's exactly why we need to warn Earth. The Council thinks they understand us, that they can predict and control us. But they've never really seen what humans can do when our survival is threatened. On the bridge of the righteous judgment, Security Administrator Vexler watched the Aurora disappear into the transit zone. His gray skin flushed purple with anger and concern. How did they modify their shields like that? His second-in-command asked. That technology shouldn't work that way. Vexler's 4 eyes narrowed. It seems we may have underestimated human resourcefulness, he said quietly. Notify all Council forces near Earth. Captain Chen must not reach her planet with this information. But as he gave the orders, a new feeling crept into Vexler's mind, something he rarely experienced. Doubt. If humans could adapt Council technology in ways the Council themselves hadn't considered, what else might they be capable of? For the first time, Vexler wondered if Containment Directive 47B had been a grave miscalculation. By the time Captain Chen's damaged ship reached Earth's orbit, 3 days had passed since her discovery of the Containment Directive. She watched through the viewport as the blue planet came into view, looking peaceful and unaware of the danger it faced. Communications are back online, Lieutenant Park reported. Earth Defense Command is hailing us. Put them through, Chen ordered, straightening her uniform despite her exhaustion. The screen lit up with the stern face of General Maya Okonkwo, head of Earth's military forces. Captain Chen, you violated diplomatic protocols by returning. Without authorization. Explain yourself. Chen took a deep breath. General, I've discovered evidence that the Galactic Council is attacking Earth. They've launched a plan called Containment Directive 47B to reduce our population through fake medical aid. The vaccines they're distributing contain compounds that will sterilize humans. General Okonkwo's expression didn't change, but her eyes narrowed slightly. That's a serious accusation, Captain. Do you have proof? Sending the directive now, Chen said as Park transmitted the data. How many people have received Council medical treatment so far? The general checked something off screen. Approximately 40 million across all continents. The Council said it was protection against spaceborne illnesses. Chen felt sick. It's already started. I need to take this to the Global Council immediately, Okonkwo said. Return to Washington Base for debriefing. And Captain, good work. The screen went dark. Chen slumped in her chair, finally allowing herself to feel the weight of the past 3 days. They had made it back to warn Earth, but was it already too late? Dr. Sanjay Kumar hadn't slept in 36 hours. The Xenobiology Division's lab in New Delhi was crowded with scientists from around the world, all working frantically since General Okonkwo's emergency broadcast had revealed the Council's betrayal. The compound is specifically designed to target human reproductive cells, Kumar explained to the team gathered around him. It attaches to our unique DNA structure, which is why it doesn't affect council species. Can we neutralize it? Asked Dr. Amara Okafor, a brilliant Nigerian biochemist who had arrived just hours after the news broke. Kumar ran his hand through his messy hair. We're trying, but millions have already been exposed. Outside the lab's windows, they could see thousands of people lining up at testing centers that had been hastily established. Fear was spreading faster than any virus. Wait, said Dr. Li Wei, studying data on her tablet. If the compound targets our specific DNA structure, maybe we can use that against them. Kumar looked up. What do you mean? The council species modified their own biology over thousands of years, Wei explained. They practically standardized their genetic code across species. If we can reverse engineer this compound and adapt it to target their standardized genetics, instead, we could create a countermeasure that affects them, not us. Kumar finished, a spark of hope in his tired eyes. Get me the genetic profiles of all council species. As the scientists raced to develop a defense, the situation outside grew worse. Council ships had appeared in orbit, claiming they were there to maintain peace during the unfortunate medical emergency. Armed peacekeepers had landed outside major cities, setting up checkpoints and restricting movement. In a small farm outside Nairobi, an unlikely meeting was taking place. Farmers, teachers, former soldiers, and college students crowded into a barn, speaking in hushed voices. They've taken over the government buildings in the city, said Makina, who until 2 days ago had been teaching high school biology. The president has been escorted to a council ship for protection. Same in Buenos Aires, added Jorge, a farmer who had once been a communications specialist in the Argentine army. And they're jamming our communications networks. Not for long, said Imani, a university student with bright eyes and a determined expression. She opened her laptop. I've been studying council tech for my PhD. Their communication systems have a weakness. They never expected anyone to hack them because they think their tech is too advanced for us. Can you break in? Asked an older man at the back. Already did, Imani grinned. I've established a secure channel that connects resistance cells across the globe. We can coordinate without them listening in. Similar scenes were playing out. In basements, fishing boats, mountain cabins, and desert camps around the world, humanity was organizing, adapting, refusing to be silently eliminated. Security Administrator Vexilor stood in the Council command ship overlooking Earth. Reports from ground forces streamed in on multiple screens, none of them promising. The humans have established an underground communication network, his aide reported. We've identified resistance cells forming on all continents. How? Vexilor demanded. Our technology should be impenetrable to them. They've found ways around it, the aide admitted. They're using simple methods we didn't anticipate. Modified old radio equipment, light signals, even paper messages carried by couriers. Vexilor hissed in frustration. What about the leadership cell in Nairobi? Did we eliminate it? Yes, Administrator, the strike team removed all identified members. Good, Vexilor said, feeling some satisfaction at last. That should discourage. Administrator, interrupted another officer. We've just detected 7 new resistance cells forming in the Nairobi region alone. Vexilor stared at the display in disbelief. The humans weren't breaking apart under pressure, they were multiplying their efforts. What about the containment compound? He asked. Is it working? The officer looked uncomfortable. Early tests show many humans are already developing a natural resistance. And there are reports of a human scientist named Kumar working on a countermeasure. Vexilor's gray skin flushed dark with anger. Find this Kumar, bring him to me. There's something else, the aide said hesitantly. The humans aren't dividing along their normal boundaries. Historical enemies are working together. Religious differences, national borders, political disagreements, they've set them all aside. Impossible, Vexilor said. Our studies of human history show they're incapable of sustained cooperation across their cultural divides. Perhaps, the aide suggested carefully, Our studies were incomplete. Vexler turned back to the viewport, looking down at the blue planet that was proving much more difficult to contain than anyone had predicted. The Council had studied human warfare extensively, analyzing their conflicts and weaponry, but they had completely failed to understand human cooperation and adaptability. For the first time in his long career, Vexler felt something unfamiliar: doubt about the Council's wisdom. These humans were unlike any species the Council had encountered before. They didn't follow the expected patterns. "Send in more peacekeepers," he ordered. "Increase containment measures in all major cities." But as he gave the command, Vexler wondered if any force in the galaxy could actually contain humanity once they decided to resist. 3 months had passed since the Council ships arrived in Earth's skies. 3 months of occupation, resistance, and growing tension. Security Administrator Vexler stood in his command center aboard the flagship, reviewing the latest reports with increasing frustration. "Another supply depot attacked?" he asked, his 4 eyes narrowing as he read the screen. "Yes, Administrator," his aide replied. "The humans used some kind of electromagnetic pulse device. It disabled all our security systems before we detected any threat." "How are they creating such devices?" "We've restricted all advanced technology." The aide hesitated. "It appears they built this one using parts from kitchen appliances." Vexler stared in disbelief. "Kitchen appliances?" "Yes, sir. Human microwaves, blenders, and something called a toaster oven. They reassembled the components into a functional EMP device." Vexler turned to the viewport, looking down at the blue planet that had become his greatest challenge. The Council had expected Earth to be under complete control by now. The humans should have been broken, their leaders captured, their resistance crushed. Instead, they were fighting back in ways no one had predicted. "Begin Operation Final Line," Vexler commanded. "Prepare the dreadnoughts for city reduction." It was time to show the humans what real power looked like. In a hidden base beneath the ruins of Chicago's old subway system, Captain Eliza Chen stood before a table of resistance leaders. A map of North America glowed on the screen behind her. "The Council is moving their dreadnoughts into position," she reported. "According to our intelligence, they plan to destroy major cities as a show of force." "How many ships?" asked General Okonkwo. 7, Chen replied. 1 targeted at each continent. The North American dreadnought is positioned directly above us. Dr. Kumar looked up from his tablet. "They're getting desperate. Our countermeasure is working." 3 weeks earlier, Kumar's team had finally perfected their response to the Council's bioweapon. Using the same biological principles that targeted human DNA, they had created a compound that affected the genetically modified Council species instead. It didn't harm them permanently, but it caused extreme discomfort and temporarily disabled their enhanced abilities. "What about Operation Prometheus?" asked Rodriguez, who had followed his captain from the Aurora to the Resistance. Chen nodded to a woman at the end of the table. Dr. Rebecca Winters had been a meteorologist before the invasion. Now she was the architect of humanity's most daring counterattack. "We're ready," Winters said, standing to address the group. "My team has modified Chicago's weather control system, originally designed to reduce severe storms. Instead of dispersing clouds, we'll be creating them and seeding them with specially prepared conductive particles." She tapped the screen, bringing up a simulation. "When the dreadnought moves into position tomorrow, it will pass through our engineered storm cloud. The particles will attach to the ship's hull and create a massive electrical surge when we activate the system." "Will it destroy the ship?" Okonkwo asked. "No," Winters admitted. "But it should disable their main systems long enough for our teams to board and capture it." A murmur ran through the room. Boarding a Council dreadnought was beyond ambitious, it was nearly unthinkable. Chen raised her hand for quiet. "We're not just fighting for our survival anymore. We're fighting for answers. Why did the Council target us? What are they hiding? That ship contains the databases we need." She looked around the table at the determined faces. Farmers now served as supply coordinators. Teachers had become communications experts. Museum workers repaired alien technology with delicate precision, learned from handling ancient artifacts. Tomorrow, we show the Council what humans are truly capable of, Chen said. Operation Prometheus begins at dawn. The next morning, Council soldiers across Chicago reported unusual weather patterns forming over Lake Michigan. Heavy clouds gathered with unnatural speed, forming a thick mass directly in the dreadnought's flight path. Inside the massive ship, the commander received Vexilor's final orders: reduce Chicago to rubble as an example to other resistance strongholds. Entering firing position in 3 minutes, the navigation officer reported. Weapons charged to full capacity, added the weapons chief. The commander nodded with satisfaction. The humans had shown surprising resourcefulness, but nothing could stand against a Council dreadnought. This primitive species would finally learn its place in the galactic order. Sir, we're detecting unusual atmospheric readings in the cloud formation below, the sensor officer suddenly reported. The particles are. A blinding flash lit up the command center as the ship plunged into the engineered storm. Lightning, but not natural lightning, arced across the hull, finding every metal surface and conductor. The control panels sparked and went dark. Emergency lighting flickered on, then off again. All systems failing, the commander shouted. What's happening? But there was no answer. The dreadnought, pride of the Council fleet, was dead in the air. Slowly, inevitably, it began to fall. From the shore of Lake Michigan, Chen watched through binoculars as the massive ship descended in an uncontrolled glide toward the water. The emergency landing system seemed partially functional. Enough to prevent a catastrophic crash, but not enough to escape. Boarding teams ready? She asked into her communicator. Ready, came Rodriguez's reply. Boats are in position. When that thing hits the water, we're moving in. The dreadnought struck the lake with a tremendous splash, sending waves crashing against the shoreline. It floated, listing slightly to one side, completely powerless. Chen lowered her binoculars and nodded to the teams waiting nearby. Go. Dozens of small boats launched from hidden docks, racing toward the downed ship. The Council had expected humans to surrender when faced with overwhelming technology. They'd never considered that humans might turn nature itself into a weapon. Inside the dreadnought, the commander was still trying to comprehend what had happened when the first alarm sounded. Manual alarms, not dependent on the main power. Intruders, a security officer shouted. Humans are boarding on multiple levels. How? The commander demanded. Our hatches are sealed, our defenses. They're cutting through the hull, came the stunned reply. With tools designed for underwater salvage. The commander reached for his weapon, but the thought struck him too late. The humans hadn't just planned to disable the ship. They'd prepared to capture it. These weren't desperate actions. This was a coordinated strategy that had anticipated Council responses. As human resistance fighters poured into the dreadnought, the commander realized the terrible truth. The Council had completely underestimated this species. They had studied human warfare but had failed to understand human ingenuity. And now, the humans would have access to Council technology, Council databases, and Council prisoners. The balance of power was about to shift dramatically. In his command center orbiting Earth, Vexilor received the news of the dreadnought's capture with cold dread. This wasn't supposed to be possible. Humans were supposed to be primitive, predictable, easily contained. Instead, they had just captured the most advanced warship in the galaxy using weather and kitchen appliances. For the first time, Vexilor wondered if the containment directive hadn't just crossed a line. It had awakened a force the Council might not be able to control. 1 month after the capture of the Council dreadnought in Lake Michigan, Earth's resistance had transformed. The massive ship, now renamed Prometheus, had become humanity's most valuable resource. Teams of scientists, engineers, and former tech workers had been working day and night to understand Council technology and access the ship's databases. In a converted conference room deep within the ship, Captain Chen called a meeting of resistance leaders. The room was crowded with people who had become the heart of humanity's fight for survival. We've learned a great deal, Chen began, nodding to Dr. Kumar. But we've also discovered some disturbing information. Kumar stepped forward, looking tired but determined. The containment protocols we found in the ship's database confirm what we suspected. Earth isn't the first world the Council has targeted. He brought up a holographic display showing star charts. According to these records, 17 other species have been contained over the past 5,000 years. Each one was deemed an evolutionary risk to Council stability. Why? Asked General Okonkwo. What made these species threats? Innovation, Kumar said simply. Each contained species showed signs of developing technology or social structures that would have eventually rivaled or surpassed the Council's. They weren't being contained because they were dangerous. They were being eliminated because they were promising. The room fell silent as people absorbed this information. They weren't just fighting for Earth. They were fighting against a system that had been destroying potential for millennia. Chen looked around the room. There's more. We've found evidence that the Central Council database contains files on all prior containment operations, including possible weaknesses in Council armor we could exploit. But that information is stored on their central space station, not on this ship. You're suggesting we go there? Okonkwo asked, eyebrows raised. To the heart of Council territory? Not all of us, Chen replied. A small team, using what we've learned from the Dreadnought. We can modify a smaller Council vessel to get us there. Even if we reach the station, Rodriguez pointed out, how would we get inside? The security systems will recognize us as human immediately. Dr. Kumar cleared his throat. Actually, I may have a solution for that. Everyone turned to him, surprised. The compound the Council designed to attack human DNA? Kumar explained. I've been studying how it works at the genetic level. I believe I can temporarily modify our own genetic signatures, just enough to fool their scanners into thinking we're authorized Council species. Is that safe? Chen asked. Kumar shrugged. Reasonably safe. The changes would only last about 72 hours before our bodies naturally reject them. But it should be enough time to infiltrate the station, access the central database, and get out. Chen nodded slowly. I'll lead the mission. I'm going with you, Kumar said immediately. Me too, added Rodriguez. From the back of the room, Maya Okonkwo stepped forward. Before becoming a general, she had been one of Earth's most accomplished Special Forces operatives. You'll need someone who knows how to move undetected. I'm in. 4 days later, the small team prepared to depart. They had chosen a Council courier ship captured during a raid in Buenos Aires. The sleek vessel was designed for speed and stealth, perfect for their mission. More importantly, it carried valid identification codes that would get them through the initial security checkpoints. In the Dreadnought's medical bay, Kumar administered the genetic modifier to each team member, including himself. The process was painful, their bodies fighting against the artificial changes. But within hours, their biological signatures had shifted just enough to register as minor Council species. Remember, Kumar warned as they prepared to board the courier ship, this is temporary. In 3 days, our true genetic signatures will reassert themselves. We need to be far away from the station before that happens. Chen nodded, studying her reflection in a metal panel. She still looked human, but the Council's bioscanners would read her as a Taurian, a minor administrative species from the outer worlds. Let's move, she ordered. The journey to the Council's central space station took 27 hours. The team spent the time studying the station's layout from files recovered from the Dreadnought. The station was massive, a sprawling structure housing representatives from over 200 worlds, all members of the Council's carefully controlled galactic order. Approaching final checkpoint, Rodriguez announced from the pilot's seat. Transmitting identification codes now. The team held their breath as the automated security system scanned their ship. After an agonizing 30 seconds, the response came through. Courier ship rapid message, you are cleared for docking bay 17. Welcome to Central Station. The tension in the small cabin eased slightly. Step 1 complete. Now they just had to infiltrate the most secure facility in the galaxy, access its most protected databases, and escape without being discovered. The station grew larger in their view screen, a gleaming silver structure with hundreds of docking arms extending. From a central hub, it looked beautiful, But Chen knew it represented a system built on the extinction of species who dared to evolve too quickly. After docking, they passed through the station's bioscanners without incident. Kumar's genetic modifications were working perfectly. Dressed in council administrative uniforms taken from the dreadnought, they moved through the busy corridors following the memorized route to the central database. "This is too easy," Okonkwo whispered as they entered a high-security sector with barely a glance from the guards. "The council relies on their technology," Chen replied quietly. "They don't expect anyone to be able to fool their systems." At last, they reached the central database, a vast chamber filled with glowing data columns stretching from floor to ceiling. Rodriguez connected their portable drive, designed by Earth's best programmers to locate and extract the files they needed. "Download initiated," he reported. 10 minutes to completion." Chen kept watch at the door while Kumar studied a nearby data terminal, his eyes widening as he read. "Captain," he called softly, "I've found something. The reason they targeted Earth." Chen joined him at the terminal. "What is it?" "Predictive models," Kumar explained, scrolling through complex charts. "The Council has been running simulations of species development for thousands of years. According to this, humans would achieve Council-level technology within 30 years. But with fundamentals the Council has never considered." He pointed to another screen. "And this explains everything. The Council's founders, a species called the Archivists, have been engineering their member species for compliance. For 12,000 years, they've been ensuring no species develops independence of thought or innovation beyond controlled parameters. And we're the first unmodified species to approach their technology level," Chen realized. "Exactly," Kumar nodded. "They're not containing us because we're dangerous. They're containing us because we're different. We represent true evolution, not their artificial version." A sudden alarm blared through the chamber. Rodriguez looked up from the download terminal. "We've been discovered. Security systems are locking down." Chen made a quick decision. "Is the download complete?" 90%, Rodriguez reported. "Good enough. We have what we need." She turned to Okonkwo. "Time for your expertise, General. Get us out of here." As security forces converged on the database chamber, the 4 humans prepared to fight their way back to their ship. They had infiltrated the heart of Council power and discovered the truth. Now they just had to survive long enough to share it with Earth. But as they reached the door, it slid open to reveal a squad of heavily armed Council guards led by a tall, gray-skinned figure with 4 eyes. Security Administrator Vexilor had been waiting for them. Dr. Sanjay Kumar struggled against the restraints binding him to the chair. The interrogation chamber was cold and bright, designed to make prisoners uncomfortable. Security Administrator Vexilor paced slowly in front of him, all 4 eyes focused on the human scientist. "Your genetic modifications were impressive," Vexilor admitted. "No other species has ever managed to fool our bioscanners." Kumar remained silent. When they had been captured at the central database, General Okonkwo had created a distraction that allowed Captain Chen and Lieutenant Rodriguez to escape with the downloaded data. Kumar had been the one caught, sacrificing himself so the others could get away. "Where are your companions now?" Vexilor asked. "Probably halfway back to Earth," Kumar replied calmly. "With data stolen from our most secure facility," Vexilor hissed. "Data that belongs to the Council." Kumar looked directly at the tall alien. "Data about species you destroyed, civilizations you erased because they were evolving in ways you couldn't control." Vexilor stopped pacing. "You understand nothing, human. The Council maintains order in the galaxy. We prevent chaos and war. By eliminating anyone who thinks differently," Kumar said. "We've seen your records. 17 species contained because they represented change." A door slid open at the far end of the chamber. Several Council representatives in formal robes entered, their expressions solemn. "The Supreme Chamber requests the prisoner's presence," announced the lead figure, a tall blue-skinned alien with delicate features. Vexilor seemed surprised. "The human is being interrogated." "The Chamber's authority supersedes security operations," the representative said firmly. "Bring him immediately." The Supreme Chamber was an enormous circular room with tiered seating surrounding a central platform. Representatives from 200 worlds filled the seats, murmuring as guards escorted Kumar to the center. Despite his situation, the scientist couldn't help but be fascinated by the diversity of species present: tall, short, scaled, feathered, multi-limbed, all watching him with expressions ranging from curiosity to disgust. At the highest tier sat 7 figures in elaborate robes. The archivists, Kumar realized, the founders of the council and architects of the containment program. Dr. Sanjay Kumar of Earth, announced the lead archivist, a pale, thin being with eyes that seemed too large for its face. You stand before this chamber accused of espionage, theft of classified information, and conspiracy against the Galactic Order. Kumar straightened his shoulders. If this was to be his end, he would face it with dignity. Before sentencing is pronounced, the archivist continued, do you wish to address the chamber? Kumar hadn't expected this opportunity. He looked around at the assembled representatives of 200 worlds, worlds that had, for millennia, accepted the council's carefully controlled version of civilization. I do, he said clearly. The chamber fell silent as Kumar began to speak. I came here to understand why the council targeted Earth for containment. Now I know. You fear what you cannot control. You fear true evolution. Murmurs rippled through the chamber, but Kumar continued. For 12,000 years you've been engineering your member species for compliance. You've eliminated anyone who developed in ways you didn't anticipate. You call it maintaining order. We call it stagnation. The lead archivist raised a hand. Your accusations are based on incomplete understanding. No, Kumar interrupted. My understanding is clearer than you think. While you studied human biology and warfare, you missed our greatest strength. We see beyond artificial boundaries. He turned to address the entire chamber. Your council is built on the idea that differences must be controlled or eliminated. Humans embrace differences. We evolve through diversity of thought and experience. Kumar took a deep breath. And we weren't the only ones to see through your deception. For generations, Earth has suspected the truth about the Council. We noticed how remarkably similar all your species were in outlook, despite your biological differences. We questioned why your cultures showed almost no evolution for millennia. We had been preparing long before you targeted us. This was a partial bluff, but Kumar needed to buy time for Chen and Rodriguez to return to Earth with the data. He could sense Vexilor watching him carefully from the side of the chamber, likely detecting the exaggeration. Suddenly, every screen in the chamber lit up with an incoming transmission. The archivist looked startled. Interruptions during formal proceedings were unprecedented. The screens showed Captain Chen standing on the bridge of the captured dreadnought. Behind her stood representatives of Earth's United Nations. Greetings, Council members, Chen said formally. I am Captain Eliza Chen of Earth. We apologize for this unorthodox communication, but we have important information to share with all representatives. The lead archivist rose. This transmission is unauthorized. Security terminate. They can't, Chen said calmly. We've broken your encryption. Your systems are no longer exclusively under your control. The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Breaking Council encryption was supposed to be impossible. But that's not the most important revelation we bring, Chen continued. The camera panned to show figures standing beside the Earth delegation, figures that made the Council representatives gasp in recognition. May I introduce representatives from the Larathi, the Niban, and the Kethlar civilizations, Chen said. Species you believed were successfully contained and extinct. In the center of the Supreme Chamber, Kumar smiled at the stunned faces around him. The plan had worked. For generations, Chen explained, a secret human organization called Project Sanctuary has been locating and rescuing remnants of species the Council thought eliminated. These survivors have been living in hidden habitats throughout unexplored regions, protected by human ingenuity and your own arrogance in never looking for them. The transmission shifted to show amazing footage. Blended communities of supposedly extinct species living alongside humans in concealed space stations, terraform, planets, and underground facilities. Children of different species playing together. Scientists collaborating on research. We didn't just save them, Chen said. We learned from each other. And together, we've created technologies and social structures the Council never imagined possible. In the chamber, Kumar watched as realization dawned on the Council representatives. Humans had not only resisted containment, they had been systematically undermining the Council's most fundamental operation for generations. Earth doesn't seek your destruction, Chen continued. We seek partnership, but one based on genuine equality and diversity, not control. The artificial boundaries you've maintained for millennia have stagnated galactic development. We offer a different path forward. The Supreme Chamber had fallen completely silent. Even the archivists seemed at a loss for words. In the center, Kumar stood tall, no longer feeling like a prisoner but like an ambassador for a new future. The Council had crossed a line by attempting to contain humanity. Now humanity had erased that line entirely, and in doing so, had changed the course of galactic history forever. In the tense silence of the Supreme Chamber, Dr. Kumar watched as the Council representatives struggled to process what they had just learned. The supposedly extinct species, standing alongside humans in Captain Chen's transmission, had shattered. 12,000 years of certainty. Security Administrator Vexlor was the first to recover. He strode toward Kumar, weapon drawn. This changes nothing, he hissed. The Council's authority remains absolute. One prisoner and a stolen transmission cannot. Administrator Vexlor. A voice called from the side of the chamber. Stand down. To Kumar's surprise, it was General Maya Okonkwo. She had shed her guard disguise and now stood tall in her Earth Defense uniform. Somehow she had infiltrated the security detail instead of escaping with Chen. You were captured, Vexlor said, confusion evident in his 4 eyes. That's what we wanted you to think, Okonkwo replied calmly, weapon trained on the security administrator. The escape was a diversion. I stayed to ensure Dr. Kumar's safety. Kumar's restraints clicked open unexpectedly. He looked down to see a small device attached to the locks. Okonkwo must have planted it during the earlier commotion. On the screens, Captain Chen continued addressing the chamber. The Council has maintained power through isolation and fear. Each member species is kept separate from others except through carefully controlled channels. You've been told that boundaries between species are necessary for stability. The camera panned to show laboratories where humans worked alongside rescued aliens, developing technologies that combined different approaches. We've proven otherwise, Chen said. When species collaborate as equals, sharing their unique perspectives and abilities, progress accelerates beyond what any single approach could achieve. In the chamber, the representatives had begun talking among themselves, many turning to face the archivists with questioning expressions. This is deception, the lead archivist declared, rising from his seat. These cannot be the contained species, merely genetic manipulations created to fool you. Then explain why you hid the containment program from us, called a representative from the middle tier. Why were these operations classified even from council members? The chamber erupted in shouted questions. Kumar realized the council was fracturing before his eyes. Enough! Vexlor shouted. He turned his weapon toward the screens, preparing to destroy them and cut off Chen's transmission. In one swift motion, Okonkwo disarmed him. The security administrator staggered back, shocked that a primitive human had moved faster than his enhanced reflexes. The council doesn't need to end, Kumar said, stepping forward to address the chamber again. It needs to transform. The representatives quieted, listening to the human scientist who now stood free in their midst. Earth doesn't seek the destruction of galactic governance, Kumar continued. We seek its reformation. Not a system based on control and fear, but one founded on genuine cooperation and diversity. He gestured to the screens where Chen and the representatives of rescued species waited. We propose the dissolution of the Containment Directive and the formation of a new galactic alliance, one where all species, including those you've tried to eliminate, have equal voice. Impossible, the lead archivist said. but with less certainty than before. Such a system would collapse into chaos. Would it? Kumar asked. Or would it thrive through the very diversity you feared? Look at what humans have accomplished. In our short time among the stars, not because we're superior, but because we're different, we see possibilities where you see risks. On the screen, Chen nodded to someone off camera. New images appeared, showing Earth's defense systems, including a devastating countermeasure developed from the Council's own bioweapons. We could have chosen revenge, Chen explained. We developed a modified version of your containment compound that would target the genetically modified portions of Council species. We could have dispersed it throughout Council space, affecting every member world. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Kumar could see fear in the representative's eyes. Instead, Chen continued, we created a treatment. When your forces on Earth were captured, we administered this treatment to them. We saved thousands of Council lives that could have been taken in retribution. Kumar watched as this information registered with the representatives. Humans had held the power to strike back at the Council and had chosen mercy instead. The past cannot be undone, Kumar said, addressing the chamber once more. The species you've harmed cannot be fully restored, but the future can be different. We offer a choice. Continue down a path of control that leads to stagnation, or embrace a new way forward, one with challenges certainly, but also with possibilities, beyond anything the Council has imagined in millennia. The chamber fell silent again, but this time it was a thoughtful silence. Representatives looked at each other, then at the archivists, then at the screens showing the impossible alliance between humans and supposedly extinct species. After what seemed like an eternity, a representative from the lower tier stood. I move that the chamber hear the Earth proposal in full. Another stood. Seconded. One by one, representatives rose to their feet until most of the chamber was standing. The archivists watched in disbelief as 12,000 years of absolute control began to crumble. 3 months later, Dr. Kumar stood on the observation deck of the former Council station, now renamed Convergence. Beside him were Captain Chen, General Okonkwo, and representatives from the 17 rescued species. Through the massive viewport, they watched as ships from dozens of worlds arrived for the first assembly of the new Galactic Alliance. The Terra Accords had been signed 2 weeks earlier, establishing a new form of interstellar governance where boundaries between species were recognized but not enforced. The 17 restored species had joined as founding members alongside humans and reformed Council factions. Only the archivists had refused to participate, retreating to their ancient territories rather than accept a galaxy they could not control. Hard to believe it worked, Okonkwo said, watching the arriving ships. Not really, Chen replied. Once people see a better way is possible, it's difficult to go back. Kumar nodded, but his attention had been drawn to a young archivist approaching their group. Unlike the elders of her species, she had chosen to remain with the Alliance as an observer. Dr. Kumar, she said hesitantly. May I ask a question? Of course, Indar, Kumar replied. Without boundaries between us, the young archivist asked, how will we know who we are? My species has defined itself by maintaining separation for thousands of years. If those lines are erased, what remains of our identity? Kumar smiled gently. That's the greatest adventure of all, he said. You get to decide for yourself, not based on lines drawn by others, but on connections you choose to make. He gestured toward the viewport where ships of countless designs continued to arrive. Humanity didn't escape containment because we were stronger or smarter. We escaped because we refused to accept artificial limitations, especially the ones we place on ourselves. The young archivist looked thoughtful as she considered his words. Beyond the viewport, the first truly diverse gathering in galactic history was beginning. Not a carefully controlled council, but a messy, challenging, vibrant alliance of genuinely different perspectives. The Galactic Council had crossed a line by trying to contain humanity. Humanity had erased it and in doing so had set the galaxy free.